Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Wednesday. All right, the index in sell-off mode again after seeing shares climb yesterday. Shares throughout the day were moving sideways, but at the last minute, if you get to show the chart right here, you'd see here investors dumping stocks, pulling shares lower by 0.9% to 6,439.39. This as offshore investors continue to let go of Philippine stocks. That's on a 14-day streak today, with net sales at 776.8 million pesos, the highest yet since April 13. Now, this, of course, comes after the U.S. issued a travel advisory against the Philippines over a very high level of COVID-19 infections, as well as concerns over terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping, especially in Mindanao. That's a level 4 travel health notice here coming from the U.S., the highest of its COVID-19 classifications, meaning travelers should avoid going to the Philippines. The CDC says even fully vaccinated travelers may be at risk of getting and spreading COVID-19 variants once they decide to go to the country. It also highlighted specific locations such as Sulu and Marawi, as well as cautioning against traveling to Mindanao. This, of course, over concerns regarding crime, terrorism, and civil unrest. Looking at how that affected shares today, especially with our airlines here. You can see Philippine Airlines, as represented by the white chart here, or white line rather, climbed still. Despite that bit of news, it is up 0.5% to 6 pesos and 15 centavos a share. Same thing with Cebu Pacific, still rising here, as represented by the orange line. That is up over 8% to 49 pesos and 50 centavos. But of course, you have a number of developments still of course, with Cebu Pacific. That's after they secured $250 million in fresh capital through convertible bonds from the International Finance Corporation. But looking at the day's performers here, the day's biggest drag would have to be SM Prime. As you can see right here, the stock here is a day's worst performer, tanking by 4% here. That's after the property developer slashed regular dividend payment to its lowest yet since 2004. Now, that's for 0.082 per share, amounting to 2.368 billion pesos to all stockholders here. It also earmarked 80 billion pesos for its 2021 capex with a focus on mall and residential segments. They are saying as well, that includes the opening of 3 new malls and the launch of some 15,000 to 20,000 residential units this year. The stock today, as you can see right here, is valued at 34 pesos and 80 centavos a share. But with SM Prime's decline because of that dividend cut, other property players followed suit. Definitely, of course, you have SM Prime being the country's largest developer by market value. That, in a way, underscores the impact of the pandemic on builders. If you try to take a look at our property sector here, a number of our big players here ending the day in the red. You have Mega World, it's on the downside here by 1.25% here. But also you have here Ayala Land down by as much as 0.15%. This is by this bit of news wherein they're saying that they are going to construct 100 billion pesos worth of residential projects this year as they aim for a V-shaped recovery, bringing them to 2019 levels in around 2 to 3 years' time. The company is confident that it can post double-digit earnings growth with the residential projects and estate development. But again, Ayala Land still caps up the day on the negative territory here to 33 pesos a piece. Now, one other property player here that's still in the red here, that's Double Dragon. This despite them announcing that they are going to launch 3 Hotel 101 projects in the next 3 quarters. That's going to be in Cebu, Boracay, and Lebis. They are eyeing at least sales revenue of as much as 11 billion pesos from these projects. That's going to add around 2,251 new rooms in their portfolio. Again, Double Dragon here ending the day lower by 0.3% to 13 pesos and 2 centavos a share. Now, as many Filipinos lost their jobs due to the pandemic, many are taking chances at whatever door opens, even unscrupulous ones. Not surprising that 2020 saw a record spike in investment scams. How are they planning to address this? Let's find out from SEC's OIC for Enforcement and Investor Protection, Attorney Oliver Leonardo. Good afternoon, Attorney Oliver.
Good afternoon, Jess, and all our viewers.
Okay, so you did say in your report that 127 advisories against easy money schemes there. That's 95% higher compared to what you had year on year. What were the most common schemes here over the past year, and any specific number of scam cases as well?
Well, still, the most prevalent is the so-called policy schemes, those promising rates of return that is in the nature of too good to be true. Then you have pyramiding scams, and variants of policy schemes are in the ecosystem of cryptocurrencies. So even international scams on this, as well as foreign exchange scams.
Mhm. Why do you think is there a an increasing number of Filipinos that are getting duped into taking advantage of cryptocurrencies and digital assets?
Well, for one, some may not be familiar at all with digital assets, and they are attracted to the rise in the prices of these cryptocurrencies, for one. And also, the scammers are taking advantage of the fact that since we have a pandemic, most of our kababayans are tethered to our devices. The workforce, our students, even people for entertainment purposes. So they are leveraging on that, and the Filipinos are, by the way, the number one users of social media in terms of number of hours devoted to this, and also through the use of internet.
Mhm. So was it on Attorney Oliver? Was it only in 2020 or in you saw that jump at least in number of investment scams, especially when it comes to digital assets?
Yes, but we have flagged a lot of those even before 2020.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Now, is there any other scheme here? Did the pandemic at least give rise to a new scheme here that has lured Filipinos, other than the things that you have already mentioned, particularly in cryptocurrencies and digital assets?
Well, it's the same modus being perpetrated by scams. It's just a variation of some of the consumer products they offer, and essentially, it involves recruitment, selling of packages. But however, these are unlicensed. Number one, the entities offering them do not have a permit to offer and sell securities. This is different from the registration as a corporation. That's not enough. And second, the product themselves, the securities in the nature of investment contracts, are likewise not registered with the SEC. And the individuals should likewise be registered as a financial professional.
So all in all, how many cases were reported at least in 2020 and coming into the first quarter of 2021? Or what are the current figures as well?
I can safely say that for new investment scams, it numbers in the hundreds.
Mhm.
And for this first quarter alone, uh, maybe about close to 100 already.
So we're already close to 100 for the first quarter alone. So in a way, that is at least our figures this year poised to at least break 2020's records.
It's still too early, but again, some of these scammers, and especially in social media, it's very prevalent.
Mm-hmm. Now, given that, sir, what is the SEC doing to address these issues, and how can people better protect themselves?
Um, well, we are implementing the law, and we have availed of our enforcement actions. Primarily, we've got our advisories posted on our website and the investor alerts also published in our official Facebook page. We issue cease and desist orders, and we file criminal cases for violations of the Securities Regulation Code with the DOJ. And we have launched the SEC Campaign Advocacy Network with our partner agencies, among others, the Commission on Higher Education, Department of Education, and OWA, DOLE. And we also launched our SEC Academy, where our fellow men can look at content that would help them understand the market and the red flags on signs of investment scams. And also, we've been aggressive in our campaign to educate our fellow men on these things.
Now, Attorney Oliver, as the pandemic drags on, do you expect these investment scams to at least, or cases of investment scams to continue to rise?
Yes, probably. But the most important thing is to arm ourselves with the necessary information. As the saying goes, forewarned is forearmed. And mind you, even international scammers are propagating their scams through the internet. So we should exercise the so-called due diligence. Don't hesitate to contact the SEC to ask relevant questions, whether these firms are registered or not, and whether they have corresponding license or permit to offer securities.
All right. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Attorney Oliver Leonardo, Officer in Charge for the Enforcement and Investor Protection Department of the SEC. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jess, and for your part. Thank you.
Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The Mines and Geosciences Bureau says the government is planning to declare at least 7 new Minahang Bayan sites this year, bringing the total to 46. MGB Director Wilfredo Moncano told the Philippine Star that as of last week, the Environment Department has cleared 3 applications for declaration as Minahang Bayan. These are the Benguet Federation of Small-Scale Mining Association in Tuba, Benguet, the Bulawan Landowner Small-Scale Mining Association in Calanasan, Apayao, and the Albor Small-Scale Mining Cooperative in Libho on Dinagat Island. A Minahang Bayan or People's Small-Scale Mining Area is given by the government to small-scale miners to help them to operate legally. This also allows the government to closely monitor and regulate small-scale mining activities. Moncano said the rest of the Minahang Bayan applications for this year are currently in different states of processing. Once cleared, the Mining Regulatory Board of concerned provinces will declare the sites as Minahang Bayan. The Labor Department is allocating 600 million pesos for work disability pensioners who will each receive a one-time grant of 20,000 pesos. The one-time grant were approved under an administrative order citing the need to aid pensioners affected by the pandemic. Dole said the Employees Compensation Commission, or ECC, will disburse the package to 31,000 pensioners granted disability retirements from both the private and public sector. ECC, the grant will be provided to pensioners classified by the SSS and GSIS under the Permanent Partial Disability, Permanent Total Disability, and Survivorship programs. The ECC also clarified that the grant will be given to beneficiaries in the same manner that their pensions are processed. And those are the biggest stories this trading day, April 21, 2021. Catch Businessworld live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.